Hello, my name is Kenneth Jesse, and this is Election Brief. Within the next 30 minutes, we have the latest update from the political scene. We're live on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 125, all social media handles, and around the world on myjoyonline.com. Election headquarters is brought to you by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity, and Chartered Institute of Management Accountant and the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, together as the Association of International Certified Professionals Accountants. Elections headquarters for an informed electorate. Stay tuned. And this afternoon, President of the Ghana Journalists Association, Albert Kwabena, has warned those hatching plans to attack journalists before, during, and after this year's general elections to abort such plans, as the umbrella body will not countenance such attacks. According to him, the GJA is determined this time to ensure the safety of every journalist in the country as it jealously guards the country's enviable democratic credentials. He signaled the warning at a day's workshop organized for journalists by the U.S. Embassy in conjunction with the GJA in Accra. My colleague Carlos Coloni has the rest of the story.
Held under the theme Journalists for Peaceful Discourse, the one-day workshop, the fourth in series by the U.S. Embassy in collaboration with the Ghana Journalists Association, equipped practitioners with skills on fake news identification, disinformation, responsible and accurate reporting before, during and after the 2024 elections. Advising journalists to choose accuracy over speed, President of the Ghana Journalists Association, Albert Kwabena, asserted the GJA's commitment to ensuring practitioner safety in the polls.
The GJA has a mandate to promote democracy, freedom of expression, human rights, and other responsibilities as enshrined in Ghana's 1992 Constitution, including national development and general good of the citizenry. It is for this reason this project was muted to enable the GJA build the capacity of journalists in preparedness of the task ahead, which is elections 2024. Let's not rush at all time to choose speed over accuracy. It is worth mentioning, however, that there is growing intolerance against the media, and attacks on the media is on ascendancy. Whilst I encourage my colleagues to refrain from conduct that inflames passion, I wish to also send caution to those who assault the media that the GJA will not countenance any attack on journalists going into the elections, as any such thing will be fiercely resisted, as we have demonstrated in recent times. Now, we know that the imposition of media blackout is more powerful, and I want to emphasize that the GJA stands ready to defend its members at all times.
The U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Virginia Palmer, however, urged the media to report the truth at all times to uphold and safeguard the shining democratic credentials of the country. Adding, the U.S. Embassy will keenly monitor the political processes this year.
The change we need is the professionalization of the security services and structuring our economies to ensure that economic prosperity is shared across classes, regions, and subgroups, again, without discrimination. And Ghana has long been a regional example of stability and the democratic success. But again, across the region, that's under threat. So we can't take it for granted. I know you don't. And you journalists are the absolute linchpin or bedrock. The internet is down this morning. I couldn't look for better synonyms. But you are absolutely essential to making that true, and to protecting that and protecting those values. And I know you face threats, both physical and digital, that seek to silence critical voices and stifle press freedom. And the courage to report honestly in such an environment is commendable. And it's testament to the resilience and dedication of the journalist community. And we'll do everything we can to make sure that you're not threatened in those ways. But your courage to want to report the story and report the truth, no matter what, is so important to democracy. It's a collective responsibility. Governments, civil society, and the international community have a responsibility to protect, support, and champion the rights of journalists and media organizations, because your safety and freedom are indispensable to the health of our democracies.
Jifate is a beneficiary journalist and president of the Tama Regional Chapter of the GJA.
This training has been very informative. It's a step in the right direction by the GJA and the U.S. Embassy. It's giving us an opportunity to learn new things. Speed is good, accuracy is better. So we should focus more on accuracy, because if you are the first to break the news and you mislead the public, you have done the public more harm than good. And then because people are very passionate about elections, issues about elections, when you put the wrong information there, you inflame passions, and that is not good for us.
As this year's election campaign intensifies, journalists are encouraged to curb the spread of disinformation and fake news, especially on social media. For Joy News, Carlos Caloni, Accra.
The Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry is unhappy about devastating effects of erratic power supply on their businesses. Highlighting their concerns, President of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Dr. Clement Osei-Amoako, admonished MPP flag bearer Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to prioritize the energy sector to save businesses should he be elected come December. Right, so let's engage my colleague Samuel Imbura, who is currently at that engagement for more. Imbura, does this engagement with key stakeholders in the business sector signify that Dr. Bawumia has officially kick-started his campaign?
Exactly, Kenneth.
Hello, Imbura.
You remember that the manifesto of the NPP would be open to the public to solicit views from them in firming up the manifesto. So this is actually the first step of it. The Vice President is seeking the views of key stakeholders, and the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry is the first point of call because they are in the private sector. So yes, this is the first step of the Vice President in starting his campaign ahead of the 2024 general election. So once the views of these key stakeholders are collated, he will inculcate that into his manifesto, and when he gets to the main campaign rounds, he'll be able to share with them his vision for the country.
Right. The Ghana Chamber of Commerce also voiced out their concerns about the numerous tax burdens that are affecting their businesses. When they did that, what did the Vice President say?
Well, the major concern has to do with the COVID-19 levy or tax, for instance. They are of the view that, it is a nuisance tax and a burden on the traders and business people as well. So for that matter, it should be scrapped. So in response to these concerns by the Chamber of Commerce, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and flag bearer of the NPP, said the concerns and recommendations raised by them actually align with his vision. And when he's given the opportunity, he would ensure that the concerns are addressed.
And aside these issues raised, were there any other issues that were raised at this meeting?
Well, there were issues about the taxes as well, where the Vice President is talking about how the tax system is currently being rolled out in the country. His major concern is the mode in which the Ghana Revenue Authority collects its tax and more than less harass business owners. He says when he comes into office, he's providing a clean slate to give tax amnesty to all businesses in reducing the burden on them. So at the moment, he's done with the engagement with the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We are currently at the Ghana Bar Association office, where he'll be soliciting their views as well in firming up his manifesto.
Samuel Imbura, thank you very much for that update. Let's listen to Vice President and MPP flag bearer Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia during his engagement with the Ghana Chamber of Commerce.
And that we become a very business-friendly country. It is very important that we become a very tax-competitive country. This is why about a couple of months ago, I took a trip to Estonia. I've been looking at tax competitiveness across the world. And every year for the last 10 years, the most tax competitive country in the world was Estonia. Every year for the last 10 years. So I was wondering what were they doing. And so I took a team and we went to Estonia to understudy tax competitiveness in Estonia. By the way, they are also one of the most digitalized countries in the world. And so we were able to get a good understanding that it is not even very complex, simplicity and transparency, right, in terms of the tax regime. And so we learned a lot from there. So we need to be very tax competitive. We need to be able to bring interest rates down for businesses to be able to function. You're competing, if you are borrowing at 32% and your competitor in another country is borrowing at 5%, ab initio, you've lost the game. You're not competitive. So we need to understand that and be able to bring, we need stability in the exchange rate and also a lot of predictability and reasonableness.
Now, in the countdown to December 7th, political party manifestos will anchor the key issues that will define the next government. Today, Star Ghana and Joy News are in the northern regional capital of Tamale to engage electorates. First in the series of the Ghana Connect Town Hall engagements is scheduled for 3 p.m. today at the Bagabaga College of Education. It is a participatory approach to empower citizens to demand that political party manifestos reflect their true needs. The Star Ghana Joy News Ghana Connect Town Hall will attract electorates from all walks of life and political party activists beyond Tamale, whose choice of the next government is strongly hinged on political party manifestos. Blessed Suga and Evans Mensah, who is the head of the Joy News political desk, will moderate the discussion. But in the meantime, Blessed Suga is joining me live from the Bagaba College of Education. Blessed, we are moments away from the big event. What more can you tell us?
That's right, Ken, and as you can see right behind me, this is exactly where we are, the Bagabaga Training College, where of course we're in the auditorium waiting for that moment where Evans and the entire election headquarters team will take over for the Star Ghana Manifesto Influencing Town Hall, which we are bringing you the very first of its kind on the election headquarters, live from Tamale, where we are now at the Bagabaga Training College. And of course, as you can see right behind me, some engagements ahead of that main event that we're expecting, not just, of course, civil society, but also political parties and other stakeholders that would make some inputs ahead of the 2024 general election manifesto framing of most of the political parties. There are a wide range of issues that are coming onto the front burner, ranging from education to economics. And of course, we've just heard from one student who's also, of course, a student from the training college, raising concerns about the quota system and the controversial issue about allowances. All of these issues will feature when that forum starts properly. But ahead of that exercise, we've had some of the civil society groups also participate in the pre-event engagement. And this is the time where, of course, I want to bring some of them in to help us to do that conversation. Divine Clare, you know him already, appearing on a number of our events and programs and speaking as the senior programs officer at the Africa Education Watch. Well, he's joining us again all the way here in Tamale, and Divine, we're grateful that you're here with us. Then we have Nuhu Saida, who's director for the Hereafter Ghana. That's also a civil society looking into the future of this country and trying as much as possible to build partnerships that will ensure that Ghana hereafter becomes the dream that we all want to realize. So let's get into that interaction, because the program has already started. In a few hours from now, we'll have the proper town hall takeoff. But Divine is here with us, Nuhu is here with us. I think they say ladies first, right? So let's do ladies first, right? So Nuhu, let's get to it. You've heard some people, as part of the pre-engagement, raise their concerns. They are giving us a sense already of what to expect. And here on the agenda is about education, the economy, and health. What's on top of the agenda for you as well as we go into the engagement?
Yeah, looking at the space I work with, I think health and education will be on top of it. But we cannot talk about health and education without talking about social inclusion. So this brings us to all the three. I like the energy in the room. I like the diversity in the room. I'm seeing people from the fire service, from the Red Cross, people with disabilities, even students. And I think this is the first of its kind in the northern region. And you could feel the enthusiasm within all of us who are here. So I'm very happy that these things are going to be looked at. Because as a Ghanaian, for my years living in Ghana, I've realized that the political parties, irrespective of what is happening in their country, end up turning more importance to what is in their manifesto than what is actually wrong with the Ghanaian people. So I'm happy that this time around we are trying to come together to influence what will actually go into those manifestos, so that in the end, when we are holding them accountable, we know that we did this together and we are supposed
and that
to...
we were also part of the inputs process, and that's why the election headquarters is doing that partnership, bringing all the CSOs together. But I also want us to touch on one issue that will be of concern to you because of lived experience. You are a female, and of course, females would decide the future of this election, undoubtedly, based on population and based on the numbers that we have going into the elections. What do you feel should be on top of the agenda for all stakeholders and political parties, most especially, as they go ahead to frame their policies for this year's elections?
So I'll still be skewed to healthcare, because recently we've seen a lot of maternal child deaths. It looks like the figures went down a bit, but it looks like currently, due to our health systems and inequalities and inequities in the health sector, we are beginning to lose more mothers and more children. And if, like you said, we are the future of the country and we are going to be lost in such a pathetic way, I think I will still go with health if we will still push more. Because we've done a lot in education. Now we are doing a lot in pushing girls to get education, and I think the success is very clear. So inclusion, which has to do with femininity as well, but then more importantly, health care, quality health care.
What exactly about health care? Quality or provision?
Quality, and then access to maternal and child health care services across the country. Equity as well, because you could have somebody, like Eunice said, somebody will have to travel just 100 meters and they'll have access to all the services. Somebody will go kilometers and will still not have access to quality maternal child and health child services. And in this case, we end up losing a lot of women and children in the rural areas and hard-to-reach areas than we are losing in the upper areas of the country. So I think we could put more infrastructure, make sure we have quality services, and also availability of those services, proximity to the women across the country.
I see. And of course, Saida was just making the point that we've done a lot in education, but Divine, I know that you definitely contest that, because you feel that there's a lot more we need to do in education.
Of course, we have a lot more to do in education, especially when it comes to closing the rural-urban gap that exists in access and then quality delivery. Quick examples could be the availability of furniture to the schools. While nationally about 40% of students in basic schools are not having access to furniture, when you look at the underserved areas or regions, the number is about over 80%. And also when we talk of improvement in BC rates, we see that Generally, the average is about 76% nationally, but we see some of the underserved regions and districts perform very low. So it's very important. So for us in this election, as far as basic education is concerned, the concentration among the political parties should be about closing the gap that exists in the urban and then the rural area.
Okay, but how about the tertiary level? You just had one of the students ask that controversial question about the quota system, the allowances and all of that. Even one of them asked you a question about that. What's the position of EduWatch on this, and what do you feel political parties should be doing at this time about it in terms of featuring that in their manifesto?
Well, what political parties should be doing, what we say do not like it, we have always been saying it. What the question should be, what necessitated the introduction of the quota system? If there's no allowance, financial commitment on government side to be paying allowance, government could expand access and admit more students. In fact, we've seen that increments actually and admission in colleges of education actually surged when the allowance was removed during the Mahama regime. What it tells you is that the reintroduction of the allowance is also a factor limiting access to more of admitting of more of the students. So for us, we have been making the point from the onset that this reintroduction of the allowance is needless. We strongly believe spending about 240 million annually to feed adults in tertiary institutions, when we can strengthen the student loans transfer system so that they can also have access to the so we don't need that. So our position is that the political parties, although I know it's very difficult for them because it's a political issue, but we need to humble ourselves and swallow the bitter pill to ensure that we are wasting the money. The 240 million annually could have been channeled to improve something else in the education space. So that is very important. Again, we also need to expand infrastructure in the colleges of education. There are a lot of abandoned projects in the colleges of education. If you go to any of the colleges, there are ongoing, So if government is able to complete some of these projects, government will be able to expand access also in terms of admission. So first we need to address this issue of the allowance that is still in the system. The point is that we don't need allowance to do anything, because the point people always make is that people need the allowance to come to the college, but I always depart from that part, because there are a lot of interventions that are actually motivation for somebody to go to college of education. In fact, the college has now been moved from diploma awarding institution to degree awarding. That's enough motivation for somebody. And then also, for the very fact that there's a job ready waiting for you, it's also a motivation for somebody. And we don't need the allowance to incentivize anybody to come to the college of education.
Anyway, the controversy is starting. I'm sure that even those within the college here at BADCO will have, their say when, of course, the discussions begin at 3 p.m. Well, of course, we are bringing you that special on our Ghana Connect series here on the election headquarters. I have Divine Peer, Senior Programs Officer for Africa Education Watch, and Nuhu Saida, who is the development of the Chief Director for Hereafter Ghana. I want us to wrap up, but briefly, just tell us in a minute each how, for instance, your CSO is working to achieve what you talk about. We talk about the challenges, but you also want to be part of the solution. How do we solve it? And how is your organization Hereafter working to solve the problem?
Yes, so for Hereafter, we are more focused on championing access and equity to healthcare services. This way we are registering children in very typical areas of Ghana onto the National Health Insurance. So far we've registered 4,803 children onto the health insurance. We are also going to rural communities where we grant them free access to a mobile clinic. So they get screened. If there's the need for referrals, we refer them. We work with volunteer nurses, doctors, and midwives who give them free access to these services. And when there's the need for referral, we do that. We also mobilize resources locally to support patients who need surgeries and then hospital treatments. So we've mobilized over $50,000 already to support over 100 patients. We are currently counting into 120 patients to have access to very expensive surgeries, treatments, and other services across. So that is what we are doing, and we believe with more support from the government and from others, we could actually bridge that gap that is causing a lot of havoc for Ghanaians.
And I believe that at this point, we'll be waiting for some of the political parties to also appear, because then they can work together with you to achieve all that you've been doing. Divine Pearl, we know that obviously Africa Education Watch, you just released your report on the secondary level situation, but you're doing a lot more. How are you pushing this agenda, especially in the election year, for us to have more collaborative efforts between civil society, government, political parties, just to improve our education sector?
Yeah, for us, we believe that what political parties put in their manifesto, when they win power, that becomes their policies. So this is a time for us to influence their manifesto promises, so that whatever they will be capturing are actually a reflection of the true issues on the ground. So that when they are giving us promises, the promises, first of all, is in line or are in line with the education strategic plan, and then they will ensure continuity with what already we are doing towards the finishing of the education strategic plan 2018 to 2030. So we have been engaging political parties, and that's why we are here again, to also elicit input from the community members that will also add up to ours to influence our engagement with the political parties.
And I need to tell you that you need to stay here on your election headquarters on the Joy News channel, where of course we're bringing you everything you need to know as the conversations continue, as Joy News is doing this partnership with Star Ghana Foundation, looking at manifesto influencing. We're starting from Tamale, where of course we're here at Batco, bringing you a live coverage of that event, which is coming up at 3 p.m. You want to make a date here on the Joy News channel, so you have all of the stakeholders, Divine, Nuhu, and the rest will be joining us in a few hours from now. You should also be at home joining us with your comments as we get interactive on all of our social media handles and at myjoyonline.com. Blessed Sogan reporting from Tamale. We'll see you in a few hours from now.
Right, and that's how we wrap up today's edition of Election Brief. My name is Kenneth Jesse. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.